So next I want to talk about variable assignment. So what is a variable? A variable is like a bucket in the computer memory. So what we can do with a variable is that we can put data or value inside this bucket so that we can have it in the memory. Okay, and we can always replace the thing inside the bucket with another value. Okay, there are different types of variables. For Python, we have integer. There are numbers without decimal places. Here, 9 minus 80 is 0. And we have float. There are numbers with decimal places. You can see them here. So which means that float can be of bigger size in terms of using memory. Okay, and then we have string. So string is a combination of different characters. We can have numbers, we can have symbols, we can have letters. They're all together. They are treated as string. So even if you have a number here, Hong Kong dollar sign, and then 1 million here, it doesn't mean that you can use this directly for the calculation. To the computer, it's just a bunch of characters, and it's a variable called string. Okay. So how do we assign values to variables? We just use the equal sign. Okay, here we want to assign the value of 5 into this variable called my int, my integer. Okay, so we are putting 5 into the bucket of my int. Okay, so we can also assign float number. And then we can also assign a string. So the names, they don't mean anything. Actually, you can give them meanings. So even though this is called my integer, you can assign 6.9 to this variable. It doesn't mean that it has to be that variable type. Okay, they're just words. So here we are introducing you a function called print here. So we can always print the value inside or inside this variable. Okay, we print and then bracket my int, my int. It will print out 5 because we have assigned the value of 5 in here. Okay, so if we have a program looking like this, let me have my Visual Studio Code open, and then we have the program here for testing. So we open this. So we have it here. So I'll copy and paste the whole program here, and then we can run this. Run Python file in terminal. Right click anywhere here in the editor region. Run Python file in terminal. And then we can see that we are printing different things. The first output is 5, which is printing my integer here, and then my float here, 6.9, and then my string, ESSE, and then all together we can print all the things together at once. Okay, my int, my float, and then my string. Okay, so this is how we can use Visual Studio Code to run the program. Okay, so how do we decide the type of each variable? So actually the Python decides that for you. So if you assign 5 to my float, what would happen? My float variable will become an integer because you assign an integer to it. Okay, and then if you assign 5 dot or 5 point, it means 5.0. Your variable will become a float number. Okay, so it doesn't mean anything even if you name your variable myFloat. It only matters when you assign the variable with whatever type of the number you're using. Okay, so if we use the function float here, it will turn this 5 into a float number, so your variable automatically becomes a float number. Okay, we also have a function called int. If you use this int function, we will turn this 5.0 into 5. Okay, so your myFloat variable will become an integer. Okay, the same goes to, sorry, this should be SRT. Okay, the same goes to this SRT, the string function. We can turn this 5.0 to a string function. Then the string will become 5 and dot 2 characters. Okay, and we can also do the assignments for different variables at the same time. Okay, we assign 5, 6.9, and then ESSC, the string, to these three variables. So 5 will be assigned to my int, and then 6.9 will be assigned to my float, and then ESSC will be assigned to my string. We can also assign different variables with the same value at the same time. Okay, this is just one line. This will make your programs look shorter. Okay, so the next is the concept of updating values. So even though if you assign 1000 to your variable myVar, my variable, your resulting variable will become an integer and with the value of 1000. Okay, so if you replace this with 1013.25, replace this to, you assign this to myVar here, and you print it, what do you see? You see a float number because you have assigned a float number to your variable. Okay, and the same goes to assigning a string. Even if you have a number here inside this variable, if when you assign a string to this variable, you will change that into a string. Okay, so in the C programming, you cannot do this because you have to declare the type of the variable first before using it. But here you can update the variable type anytime you want. But this would cause you problems sometimes. Okay, we have to be careful about this. So there is a way to delete your variable because sometimes we don't have enough memory to save all the variables we need. So when we assign values to your myInt, myFloat, and then myString variables, you automatically are telling the computer that we have three variables and then we need the memory for these three variables. So when you don't have enough space in the internal memory, you want to delete them, you can do that by del here. When you delete them, you will not see them anymore in your internal memory, and the values, of course, are gone. Okay, so this is just some advanced stuff. You don't need that at the beginning of your programming learning process. Okay, so next we talk about list. We will discuss this more later, so here is just giving you a brief introduction. Okay, so list is actually a list. It's holding some variables in a specific order. In here, we want to use a variable called myList to hold the three variables we have just mentioned, myInt, myFloat, and then myString. We put them inside this bracket. Okay, and then when we print myList, we will see all these three numbers. So the advantage of this list is that we can save the values of different types of variables with just one variable, myList. Okay, we will discuss this more later. Okay, so the exercise 2 would be asking you to assign your birthday two three variables, year, month, day, and then you have to print your birthday in the order of year, month, day. Okay, so what you can do is that you can save these three variables into a list, just like this one. Okay, and then print the list instead of the three variables. And then the next task would be updating the year into the current year, 2019, and then print it again, print the year, month, day again.